What's up, guys? I'm Crystal Lee Naomi, aka Jasmine Borders on Tyler Perry's Sisters. Be sure to subscribe to the Haves and the Have-Nots review for not only reviews on the Haves and the Have-Nots, but also on Sistas. And while you're at it, give your girl a follow on Instagram at Crystal Lee Naomi. And I'll see you every Wednesday at 9, only on BET.
All right, Sisters fans, so this is the question people have wanted me to talk about since last night's episode, which was pretty dang good, by the way. So make sure you take a moment to hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post new content on the channel. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Okay, I've tried my best to map this out, but let me just talk about the things we do know. We know that Gary was at a hotel. He stated that, hey, the reason I need to be buzzed up is because, you know, I went back to my hotel room and all of my keys were gone. You know, the key to your apartment, my car keys, everything was gone. So Gary didn't have a way to get into her apartment right away. Later in the episode, we know that Jasmine shows up and she has a gun. She shoots Gary twice in the chest. And then for those who keep saying he wasn't bleeding, there was no blood. There was blood splatter when the bullets went in his chest. And then he slowly fell to the floor. I don't know how many times I need to say it, but there was no blood. I mean, there was blood. So then Jasmine turns the gun on Andy and we pick up where we left off in the beginning of last night's episode. Jasmine's going on a rant. Basically, I told you to leave him alone. I don't care about the ambulance. I ain't calling 911. Gary ain't going nowhere but to hell where he belongs. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but she's just running at the mouth while Andy is worried about herself, but also worried about Gary. Then from there, you know, she rants about the whole situation about, I told you to leave him alone. So what if I had an affair? He's still my man. Oh, he gave you a ring. It was bigger than mine. So then Jasmine goes over to Gary and starts kicking him as opposed to killing Andy. It's like, you know what? Maybe we should all die up in here tonight. All I need to do is pull the trigger. And I'm like, I mean, you could any moment now, but then she decides to go attack Gary. And then that's when Andy rolls up on her and they have a struggle over the gun. And then a couple shots go off. And then right when Andy has the gun pointed directly in her face, Jasmine realizes she's out of bullets. And then that's when Andy rushes away, grabs a metal pan, and then hits her in the back of the head and then knocks her out. Then she checks on Gary, then rushes to get a robe, and then as soon as she's about to go out to get some help, that's when the cops are strangely right behind the door before she even opens it. So it's not like they didn't even knock or nothing. They just so happened to be right there. And they claimed it's like, hey, some neighbors said something about gunshots, and I'm like, how the hell did you get there so quick? Like, yeah, gunshots went off and the neighbors would have heard, but all of this would have happened within the span of like 3.5 to 4 minutes. Like, there's no way in hell. Like, I'm talking about from when Jasmine shot Gary twice in the chest. I'm not talking about the gunshots for when Andy and Jasmine were fighting over the gun. But in regards to when Gary got shot and then Andy was screaming and everything, unless the cops were like security at the apartment building, that's one thing, but they just appeared out of nowhere. Like, what the hell? It's just like later in the episode when Sabrina's trying to get Jacoby to leave, and then she opens the door and Calvin is miraculously right there and had his fist up about to knock on the door. Because I know some people are like, well, damn, how far does Maurice live away from Sabrina's apartment? Because Calvin had time to leave at the beginning of the episode, go talk with Maurice, and then go back to Sabrina's place. And then Sabrina had told Jacoby to leave, but she just went in her room and talked to to Danny and Maurice twice. And it's like, wait, how much time went by? So I believe it. I was skeptical at first, but things just aren't adding up. But then again, this is Tyler Perry land, so you can make the argument that, yeah, the cops got there quick because, you know, Tyler Perry wrote it that way. I'm not debating that. But things got suspicious really quick when, you know, the one cop is grabbing on Andy, cop in the field, because Andy wants to rush in there to go to Gary. So the other cop goes in there. And then later on, we find out that wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, why isn't Gary being taken to a hospital? Why are you asking me all these strange questions about the situation, like having an affair and everything? What's so relevant? Why is that relevant to the investigation? There were a lot of things that did not make a lick of sense. It really didn't. And then from there, you know, at the end of the episode, Andy is again trying to figure out what's going on. She wants to know, why isn't anyone telling me anything? You can go see him. Well, I don't want to see him when he's all bloody. Don't worry, ma'am. There's no blood. And a lot of people are like, this was an elaborate setup to get Jasmine arrested, because at the end of the episode, she's being taken away. And then that one officer says something strange. Ma'am, I think you want to get a restraining order. A restraining order? She just shot her ex-husband twice in the chest. Shouldn't she be arrested for attempted murder? What does a restraining order have to do with anything? Not to mention, if you were legit cops, shouldn't you know about the, warrant for Jasmine and her girls to be arrested earlier that day after she attacked Andy in the freaking parking lot, and then the one cop came to her apartment for her to file the report? Something ain't right. This whole thing makes no sense at all. So when she's told to go to her room to see Gary because there's no blood, we slowly see Andy go into the room, and she looks surprised, and then the episode ends. Now, there's no telling what happened, because we know in the preview she was back at work the next day, because the title's called Acting Normal, so it's like, what the hell? So I have no flipping idea what's going on. Like, if this is some kind of setup about getting Jasmine arrested, that makes zero sense at all, because how would Gary know that Jasmine was coming with a gun? How is there no blood? Were the paramedics able to just resuscitate him on the scene? Guys, I'm confused just like you are. I am trying to make sense of this. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen next. I mean, if Jasmine goes to jail or whatever, do you think Morris will bail her out? That would be a great way of having his character return. I mean, look, I'm just glad my boo didn't get killed. I'm glad Jasmine didn't get killed. I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what's going on. Even though I mentioned in my review that I felt conflicted of who to root for, because, I mean, Andy running around in that lingerie, saw a little booty. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, Lord, is this BET Plus? How much we gonna see, Andy? So I was just like, what the hell? I mean, I talk about it more in my review. I'm just like, why the hell would Jasmine just casually sit around trying to figure out what's wrong with the gun, even though Andy's trying to escape and then knocks her out? But this entire thing makes no sense. Either this is a setup or some sort of trap, or this is just weird writing. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, because believe it or not, I'm just surprised as anyone else if Andy decides to go through getting married to Gary despite all this bullshit. Because I'm just like, my biggest takeaway, it isn't about this being some sort of setup. It isn't about whether or not Gary's alive or dead. My biggest thing is this. What will change about Andy after this experience? That's my biggest thing I'm worried about. Will anything change? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, if you want to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App. And with that being said, I'll talk to you all in the next video.